If you finished the Stranger Things TV show and you're super excited to try D&D for the first time, this is the video for you. And yes, it's time to try D&D.
A shadow grows on the wall behind you, swallowing you in darkness. It is almost here.
What is it?
What if it's the Demogorgon?
So this video is absolutely for the person who is new to Dungeons and Dragons. I've got lots of other videos if you already know how to D&D, and I've got blogs and the Mastering Dungeons podcast. This is for you, the new player, the person who thinks maybe I want to Dungeon Master or maybe I want to play D&D and I haven't done it in a really long time or ever. Okay. And I'm going to tell you how to get started, what to look for, and how to get into this super awesome hobby of ours. I'm excited to make this video because I actually get to see hundreds to thousands of new players every year try D&D. This is because I help out at various Seattle and Portland area conventions and at some others around the country. And I see tons of new players come through playing their very first game of Dungeons and Dragons and seeing everybody get excited and get those awesome faces like they're in this TV show, right? That excitement over a die roll is absolutely real. And the camaraderie you see in the TV show is absolutely real. I have these amazing friendships with people, sometimes that I just see at a convention every year, others that are in my home games or that are at stores. Because when you play a game like this, being that creative, working together as a team, magic happens. Not the spellcasting magic kind of magic, the wow, we are close and bonded because we've been through something really cool together kind of magic. One of the reasons it's super fun to play role-playing games is because it's so different than our normal life. I happen to work in the role-playing game hobby space and also have a day job in the environmental field, and they're completely different, right? What you might do on a weekend when, say, I go for a hike, right, is so very different from when my character hikes through a super dangerous jungle filled with horrible beasts that are trying to eat me, right? Those are really different things. And the creativity that you come up with together with the rest of the people at the table, whether you're dungeon mastering or playing, how everybody intersects on that is so awesome and different than the rest of our everyday world. If you have a job where you are, I don't know, you're always coding or you're writing or you're processing orders or handling customers, to come to someone's house, your own or someone else's, and sit down and suddenly get to play like a dragonborn that can breathe fire on their foes, that is really, really fun. And so one of the reasons that you will want to play D&D if you haven't before or want to DM it is because you get to do such a different thing with your life. It's such a different expression. If you think about the show, the kids in the show in Stranger Things, they have school and they have parents and chores and things like that. Playing D&D is amazing, awesome fun. And in this day and age where we are all so often staring at computer screens, like you and I are right now, that is a thing that you kind of want to get away with, right? Where we're actually meeting eye to eye, face to face, across a table with people. That's why board games are fun and seeing a resurgence and saw such a resurgence during the pandemic. That desire we have to be with people, doing something together with them, to do things kind of with your hands. You're not doing carpentry, you know what I mean? But the rolling of dice, the scratching on the character sheet, those things are so tactile and wonderful. The moving of a miniature, looking at terrain that's on a table, these things are very different from what we're doing when we're just playing a video game, right? And so one of the really amazing things that's happening is how it brings people together in a way that today is a little rare. I've had the fortune of running D&D for a lot of kids, helping them have their first games. And parents are always super, super excited about this because they know and they see that their kids are having a non-digital experience. Now, You can play D&D online, so that is awesome, but more computer time. But when people are face to face, when kids are face to face, it is a super positive experience. And the parents that I've met, they're all incredibly happy that their kids are doing this, writing in books and reading books and thinking about their characters and talking and getting excited, being animated, running around the table. Those are all wonderful things.
And the storyteller, what about him?
The storyteller keeps telling stories. Stories inspired by his friends.
This hobby is really special because of the role of the dungeon master, where one person is responsible for taking the concept of the story that we're working with and slowly doling that out like scenes in a TV show, right? Here's where you are. Here's what's happening. What do you do? And then the players react to that. And it's neat because you get to choose which side of the table you want to be on. Do you want to be the dungeon master that is orchestrating this story? That might sound thrilling, or it might be something that you're a little tentative about, or maybe I want to be a player. But that dynamic makes this game super special. And so something to think about is what calls to you. It's okay to change your mind. Most of us who are DMs also play all the time, and a lot of us like both roles. In fact, you will be a better player if you periodically are a dungeon master, and vice versa. So it is helpful to do both roles. And one of the things I love is a lot of the new products are encouraging you to do both and to change who does what. If you see the show, Eddie Munson is the DM when they go to high school, but Mike also likes to DM, right? And so those things are true. Will might DM one time, Mike might DM one time. This is a normal way to approach the game and is actually really an excellent way to approach the game. So how do we get started in the hobby of D&D? Here are 5 ways. The first is find like-minded friends of yours and get together and play something like the D&D starter set. In the next section, I'll go over other things you can play and start with, but the starter set is fantastic. I have a number of reviews on this site talking through how you can run the starter set. So if one of you wants to be the DM, or maybe multiples of you want to be the DM, you can check out those videos and see how to run the different parts of it. So something like that, picking an adventure, whatever it may be, again, we'll talk about it in the next section, but you pick that adventure and you start playing with your friends. What if you don't have a group, or it's just 2 of you and you're like, well, we don't know how to find people? Well, the first is to actually find people. Look around and see whether your town, city, what have you, has a local gaming store. Gaming stores will often have some sort of place where you can meet other interested players. And they may even be running game nights, because one of the great ways to learn the game is to see it be played or have people who have experience run you through some of those games. At these kinds of store events, you might find other people who want to have a home campaign. You get together with them and you run the starter set. So running that starter set or a similar adventure that you want to do in your home or one of your friends' homes is great. And you can look around to find those friends. There are a number of boards online that can help also find people. You can go to various Discords. So if there is an official Dungeons & Dragons Discord, for example, and joining that, it has an area where players are looking to get together. My Discord has an area where players can get together, right? So you can find people that might be in your area and get together and start doing this. I have done this multiple times. I have been in Houston. I have been in Washington, D.C. I have been in Florida, all kinds of places where I have come in on a job where I was going to be there for a couple of months. And back when I used to travel, I would go and I would find a store and say, hey, are you running organized play? And if they were, I would join. And if they weren't, I would say, how about I run a game? And I would recruit people. And before you know it, we would be running games. So it may take some tenacity, but in your local area, you can likely find people who are willing to play. There are always people out there looking to play. You just have to find them and put in that work. Then you'll get together and you'll start making amazing friendships, I promise. Now, sometimes you do end up changing over time, changing groups, finding groups, but do that for a while and it will pay dividends. You will find an awesome group to be with. So I mentioned games that are being run in stores. Another place where games are being run online. There are a number of places you can go to find online games. A great one is the virtual weekends run once a month by Bald Man Games. Bald Man Games has an official partnership with Dungeons and Dragons. They run big conventions like Gen Con and Origins and Winter Fantasy and PAX West and Emerald City Comic Con. But they also run an online virtual weekend event once a month. You join their Discord, you sign up, buy tickets, and play games with just yourself or several other people. It's also a great way to learn the game because everybody there usually knows, at least the DM will very well know how to run the game. And usually some of the players are pretty accomplished. And you just tell them, I'm brand new, and they will fit you right in and you'll be having a blast. In addition to those virtual weekends, there are a number of other places where you can find online games. Start Playing organizes games. There are other websites like Demiplane, where you can demiplane.org. You can find games there. You can find online games that are being run on Roll20 on a number of different virtual tabletops. And so if you go out and find these different websites and that I've mentioned and their forums or websites, you will find where they recruit people to play games. Another option is to hire a dungeon master. This may sound sort of strange, but when you hire a dungeon master, you're not only getting a professional who is used to running a game that is going to be super awesome, but they are very good at working with new players and new groups. They're often hired for things like special parties or corporate events, and so they know absolutely how to create a great experience and walk you through it. And that price that you pay when you divide it amongst all of your friends is actually really reasonable. Some of the people that I know that do a great job at this are Zach Clay, Megan J, Tom Christie. Those folks all have their websites. They're also, if you go to Start Playing, that website, you will find them on there. I'll have links down below to where you can find these and other individuals. So we had, getting together with your friends and starting a game, looking in the local scene and a store to run a game, online games, hiring a DM. The fifth way that I would present here is to go to an actual convention. Now, conventions can be big and small, and I actually recommend starting small. So do some legwork to investigate whether in your area there is a local convention. I'm very lucky. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and in Portland there is GameStorm, and it's an amazing convention. So while it's small and local, it's actually pretty big, offers tons of different types of role-playing games, has all kinds of different types of games you can get into, like Adventures League, organized play for Dungeons and Dragons, and people running their own games and all kinds of different events. Really awesome. So it may be that if you're lucky and you live in a major metro area, you may have an actually pretty cool gaming convention that's right there. But also a lot of places, even much smaller towns and cities, will have a local game convention that you kind of just have to hear about. You've got to find where this is, when it takes place. So just do a search for things like, convention and the name of your town, and ask around to other people who have been in this area and playing games in the area. If you find forums or these sort of places where you would find other gamers, gaming stores, ask about the convention scene, and you may find that there is a relatively small one that if you can just find where it is and when it is, you can join and show up. And it's an awesome way to get started because, again, watching people who already know what they're doing do it is a lot easier in terms of learning how to play D&D. Just like you probably already have an idea of how to play D&D because you've seen the kids on Stranger Things do it. But truth be told, Stranger Things, they actually do some things a little differently for TV that aren't true of the actual game. So watching an actual game really helps you. Speaking of online play, one of the things that's worth mentioning is, how do you learn the rules of the game? I've mentioned a few times it's easier to learn if you are watching someone do it in person. Now, you can watch people play online. If you watch ACK Inc. or Critical Role or Dimension 20, any of these awesome places, Transplanar, any of these groups play, you will find that they're really good at playing, but also they hem it up a lot, right? They're doing the drama, the interesting kind of story aspects, because a lot of them actually are, trained actors or voice actors. And so they are particularly good at doing this sort of experience as something that you will watch. That won't necessarily be like your game. Not everybody at your table is going to be a drama major, but the game, the rules, the way the DM dresses up a scene, it's really useful to see that even online. Even better is in person. So that's where if you go to your gaming store or a convention and you see that game being played and you ideally get to participate in it, you will really learn the rules of the game well that way. Many recent products are also fantastic ways to learn the game. So when I hold up this big hefty starter set that I've reviewed, it has a lot of really cool sections. And the player's handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, the Monster Manual, they now come in the latest version with these pages devoted to saying, hey, look, here is an example of play and how the rules translate that you're reading to actually what they look like when they play out at the table. So that's really cool. It's definitely worth looking through these books and picking up on these examples of play. I should point out that the Stranger Things set also has these kinds of examples of play, so also really worth looking at. When it comes to your first time DMing or playing, do not worry about being perfect. We who have been in this hobby forever can tell you we are not perfect. We might sometimes be good. We might feel sometimes like we just really rocked a gaming session. We never feel like we are perfect and have stopped learning. That's what's awesome about this hobby. This hobby is one where you always have a reason to learn more as dungeon master and as player. When you go to conventions, you will meet people who open up your eyes as to how good they are at replicating a character or describing a scene, creating excitement during combat, making props, all kinds of things like that. And so it's really a joy in this hobby that you will never be perfect, which means when you are new, hey, look, you're just taking your first step on the path of not being perfect. Congratulations.
How do we play this game?
Jesus, watch out!
Cheese yourself. You said you could do it an hour ago. Look, it's a little asshole.
Starter campaign in
Why
here.
did you get to be dungeon master?
This was my idea, and this is my house.
Those of us who run and are half decent humans, we will be very happy to have your non-perfection at our table. So don't worry, jump in, play. If a group for any reason is not okay with you being new, you don't want to be part of that group. And those are becoming a real rarity these days. Places like stores, conventions, they know that if they're going to attract new players, which they want to, they've got to be cool with you not being perfect. So don't worry about that perfection. And if you're DMing, know that what you're doing is super valuable to your players. You don't have to do an amazing job. You don't have to be like some of the actual plays out there. You can just run a game with your friends and everybody will be having fun and laughing. And if you find a rule you don't know, it's okay. Either make it up and look it up later, or have some fun paging through and seeing if anybody can find the answer at the table. But keep that pressure low. It's not a big deal. Have fun and just tell stories together. Specific to the starter set, I've got a bunch of videos on how to run that. So as DM, that should be helpful. When it comes to running other games, you will find lots of resources out there. So most of the different types of games that I will talk about in the next section, someone will have done a review and a how-to for it, which is really awesome, right? One of the things you can also look at is my series of videos on 5-room Learn to Play. The first one is talking about a number of games, including D&D. And I also have a blog on alphastream.org where you can read about this. But the idea is we just take a 5-room dungeon, right? Some kind of underground space or other space with 5 rooms to it. And in each of the rooms, we learn how to play the game. So often when I do this process, I start with skills and I show you, hey, on this part of your character sheet, that's where your skills are. Room 1, we did some skill checks to kind of learn what that's like. In room 2, we have an easy combat and so on. So check out those videos that may be useful for you to know the game. But it's also a really useful approach. You can get together with friends, set up 5 rooms, play through them like that, and you'll have learned the game well enough to jump into something else. There are so many resources out there. Just on my own side, I work with my partner Sean Merwin on the Mastering Dungeons podcast, and we have covered all kinds of topics. You can go to our website for the podcast and find videos on how to start new campaigns, on how to create interesting stories, on a nautical pirate-themed campaign, and any number of ideas for how to run the game, how to try other role-playing games. So you can find that information there. There are other amazing channels that I also enjoy. Mike Shea at Sly Flourish, any number of great YouTube channels out there that'll help you with all of this wonderful hobby to spiderweb out into all kinds of different directions and learn all kinds of neat things from what our hobby offers. So now let's talk about one last thing, which is what should you run to begin with? And I mean, I've kind of said already that, hey, yeah, as a Stranger Things fan, running this set is pretty cool. Yeah, as I said, it's really casual in terms of what the adventures that are offered in here. They're not big, deep stories. They're sort of light, fun, short stories that you play one after the other because they're set for different levels. And you have pre-gens that cover the different levels that this set carries. So it's a nice way to get started. It is not as instructional as the starter set, but of course it is Stranger Things themed. So you will find, especially some of the older seasons, there are callbacks here, callbacks to the ice cream shop, callbacks to the tunnels underneath Hawkins, just different things, right? And the farmers with their fields. So you'll see those kinds of rewarding callbacks here, as well as some new material that won't feel necessarily like the show, but does feel like something that Eddie would have written in a campaign, which is what the story behind that starter set is. I should say there was an earlier Stranger Things starter set. This one is okay. This set does come with an adventure, which is all right, about a Demogorgon. It has one kind of painted Demogorgon and one very not painted Demogorgon. Some lackluster character sheets, but not a whole lot else. So I don't super recommend this starter set. Even if you can find it still, I would go with the new one instead. The starter set is fantastic. As you can see in all of my videos about it, this starter set just really gives you a ton of neat things. It has special character sheets to make it easy to learn the game. And the overall story does connect. Unlike the Stranger Things story, when you play through this, each part that you're doing links to the rest of the plot. And so it'll feel like an actual campaign that is evolving as your characters are leveling, and they will learn secrets about the area. It's not a deep campaign in that sense, but you will have the sense of sort of a larger exploring everything the land has to offer kind of thing. Also worth considering are what are called anthologies. One of the recent ones is Dragon Delves. It's pretty reasonable in terms of its quality. Very, beautiful artwork and all kinds of things like that. The layout is really cool. And these are all themed around dragons. So, hey, fun. Some of the adventures are sort of silly. You can watch Mastering Dungeons, where I play one of them with what's called a solo adventure, where just one player and one dungeon master play it. Or they call it a solo. Other people would say this is one player, one DM. But it is it runs better with a party with several players, as you'll see if you watch my Mastering Dungeons video on that. But it is a fun series and also has some nice ideas around the lore of dragons that have existed in the game, which is kind of educational. But they're fun short adventures, again, an anthology, so it's a collection of individual adventures. Another really nice one is Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, which is kind of, one pocket world out there where you arrive and solve these different, mostly unrelated adventures. It's, again, an anthology, but all taking place in this one location. Has a really nice, neat art. And the texture of these stories is really great, drawing on some very cool cultural aspects. Another option are what are known as the hardback adventures. And D&D, for this edition of Dungeons & Dragons, 5th edition, it has provided, from the very beginning in 2014, has provided a ton of hardback adventures like this one, Wild Beyond the Witchlight. This one is written by some really amazing people, and it is a fae-themed, circus-themed kind of adventure. So if you like fairy tales and things like that, it would be a lot of fun. And you play through this entire adventure, right? So it's a big, thick thing. Like this could be months and months of play. Some people will play an adventure like this and go for a year and a half, 2 years, right? Some will do it in 6 months. Those kinds of big adventures are really interesting. I'll have a separate video where I talk about, from the starter set, what can you run? And I will try to help you figure out which of those would be your favorite. But I want to let you know that those hardbacks are an option, and that's an example of one of them. Another thing that is possible is something like this Strixhaven book. Strixhaven is a world from Magic the Gathering, or a type of card set world campaign, but it is a what I would think of as a campaign world, meaning that there is a kind of story to this place. There is a sort of like, it's almost like you're putting on a costume, right? So whatever the skeleton is of basic Dungeons and Dragons, you're putting this skeleton, you're dressing it up with this. And in Strixhaven, it is a very like, you are students at a magical university, and here are the things that happen when you're there. And so if you like that kind of a concept, which is in so many different types of novels by different authors, Strixhaven gives you this idea of running a campaign in a university. And so it's not technically one of the major hardback book adventures, but this hardback does have this kind of combination of campaign setting, rules for how to play in this world, and then an adventure you can run. And there are a number of others that are like that are a lot of fun. So those are kinds of all your options. Starter sets, one of which is the Stranger Things starter set, or it's kind of a starter set, the Welcome to the Hellfire Club set. You've got your hardbacks. You've got your anthologies like Dragon Delves or Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel. And then you have campaigns like Strixhaven, Curriculum of Chaos. Which of those to pick? Well, I would for sure start with the starter set. You cannot go wrong with that. Or if you really want that Stranger Things theme, then go with that, right? Both of those are fantastic options. You'll have a blast. From there, whatever calls your attention is often the best choice. Or watch the next video that I'll release, which will talk about this specifically and try to help you figure out the unique bits of each of those. So there you have it. I hope that this video has been somewhat helpful in encouraging you, if you're a new player who's seen Stranger Things and you want to get going, that you really, really should. Because you should. This is such a cool hobby. It's so much fun to play D&D. Being new to this hobby is just a gift. It's like you're opening the door to a world that's going to keep giving you gifts for the rest of your life. This is a game, Dungeons and Dragons is a game that has changed us, those of us who play it, forever. Like, we're just different people because it's so fun to be a part of this hobby. So highly encourage you, if you're all thinking about jumping into this world, do so. I will also end by saying that there are also a ton of different games. Something we don't see in the Stranger Things series, but that probably should be in there, is that moment when the players go, wow, I really love D&D. And also, I'm seeing this game in stores that is about superheroes or cyberpunk or some totally different genre, Westerns, right? Being in outer space. And then they start playing that game, and then they go back to D&D. That is my story. It's the story of many people. You play Dungeons and Dragons, you love it, it might be your favorite, but also you play all kinds of other games like Daggerheart and Draw Steel and Pirate Borg. And those are just the ones that I'm currently playing. I have all kinds of games on my shelf, Coriolis and Blade Runner, and just, on and on and on. This is a hobby that just in D&D is awesome and fun, but there is so much more there as well to explore. So as you try D&D, be open to trying other games as well, because those will reward you in different ways and extend your experience even further. All right, I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.